This campaign is about senior citizens in my state and all over this country who are trying to get by on $12,000, $13,000 a year Social Security, and then they hear a Republican say, that's too much, we got to cut Social Security. What this campaign is about many of those seniors who can't afford prescription drugs and literally cut their pills in half in order to get the medicine they need, to heat their homes in the wintertime, to buy the food they need. This campaign is about saying that all of the seniors, all of the veterans in this country are going to get the benefits they deserve and the benefits they need. When we began this campaign about 9 months ago, people said, well, you know, Bernie Sanders, a nice guy, he's an interesting guy, he combs his hair very well. but he's just a fringe candidate, not to be taken seriously. Well, a lot has happened over the last 9 months. Politically, what's happened is that Iowa has the first caucus in the country, and I think we're in striking distance of winning Iowa. New Hampshire has the first primary in the country. I think we're a little bit ahead in New Hampshire. And on March 1st, Massachusetts has its primary. Don't tell anybody. We're going to win here in Massachusetts. When we began this campaign, we had no money, no organization, and very little name recognition outside of Vermont, to be honest with you. And when we began, we listened to a lot of the great political experts, and this is what they said. They said, you know, Bernie, in order to run a successful national campaign, you're going to have to raise a huge sum of money, and the only way you can raise that money is by creating a super PAC and begging millionaires in corporate America for funds. I'm just telling you what they said. But it took us about 12 seconds to conclude that we do not represent the billionaire class or corporate America. We don't want their money. And here is something really extraordinary that I am immensely proud of, and I would not have dreamed that this could have happened if I were here 9 months ago talking to you. And that is, we said, okay, we don't want a super PAC. We don't want the money of all these billionaire types. But we need a lot of money to run a national campaign. How are we going to get it? Well, we reached out to working families all over this country, and this is what happened. As of a few days ago, at the end of the year, we have received 2.5 million individual contributions. $2.5 million contributions, and in the last quarter, the average contribution was somewhere around $27. We have received more individual contributions than any candidate in the history of the United States of America. what is significant about that is that we are showing the entire world that we can run a people-oriented campaign, a campaign of the people, by the people, and for the people, and we're going to win without billionaire money. And the other thing about this campaign that we're trying to do is to treat the American people as intelligent human beings. And that is a very unusual approach in politics today. So what we have been doing is going all over this country. And by now, by the way, we have been at meetings like this all across America. We have spoken to over 440,000 Americans. And what we are talking about are, in fact, the most important issues facing the people of our country. And we're laying it out on the table because I believe that in a great country, in a democracy, we have to have the courage to look at our problems, to dissect these problems, to argue about solutions, and then go forward and resolve them. And let me just touch on a few of the issues that I worry about very much. First of all, there is an issue that to me is the great moral, economic, and political issue facing our nation. And that is the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality in America today. Now, in America today, we have more income and wealth inequality than at any time since 1928, and it is worse here than almost any other major country on earth. Today in America, and I want you all to hear this, the top 1/10 of 1%, not 1%, 1/10 of 1% owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. Today in America, the 20 wealthiest people own more wealth than the bottom half of American society. Today in America, one family, the Walton family of Walmart, owns more wealth, one family, than the bottom 40% of our people. And by the way, turns out that Walmart is one of the major welfare recipients in this country because the wages and benefits they provide are so low that the taxpayers have to help the workers there with food stamps, with housing, and with health care. Now, you might think that if you were the wealthiest family in the country, you could afford to pay your workers a living wage. But it's not just wealth, which is what we accumulate over our lifetimes. It is income as well. All of you know that in your state, in Vermont, all over this country, we have millions of people who are working not one job, they're working 2 jobs, they're working 3 jobs, trying to put together enough income and maybe some health insurance to provide for their families. In my view, when you have millions of people working incredibly long hours, when in America we work the longest hours of any people on earth today, in a major country, industrialized country. Japanese are hardworking people. We work longer hours than the people of Japan. And yet, despite the fact that in family after family, mom is working, dad is working, the kids are working, 58% of all new income created today is going to the top 1%. So here's a radical idea. You want to hear a radical idea? Together, we're going to create an economy that works for working families, not just a handful of billionaires. And when we talk about the economy, we always talk about unemployment and jobs. So let me tell you something that some of you may not know. Once a month, federal government comes out with a report on unemployment, comes out with a number of reports. The official unemployment rate is 5%. The real unemployment rate in this country, including those people who have given up looking for work and those people who are working part-time, is close to 10%. Let me tell you something else that is very rarely discussed, and that is the tragedy of youth unemployment in this country. Youth unemployment. A few months ago, I asked some economists to do a study for me, and I said, tell me what real unemployment is for high school graduates, kids who graduated high school, who are between the ages of 17 and 20 years of age. And this is what they reported back. If the kids are white, 33% are unemployed or underemployed. If the kids are Latino, 36%. If the kids are African American, 51%. Now that is a tragedy unto itself. You're a young man, a young woman, you want to stand up on your own 2 feet, you want to make some money, you want to become an adult, you want to get out of the house. And millions of young people are unable to do that. But it is part of another tragedy as well. And that is that in America today, we have more people in jail than any other country on earth. And if anyone thinks there's not a connection between high youth unemployment and 2.2 million people being in jail, I think you would be wrong. So here is radical idea number 2. And that is that as a nation, we should be investing in jobs and education, not more jail and not more incarceration.
Give me 1 second, guys. I actually think we have this figured out. I got to do one thing, and then I'll bring you back a much better picture. 1 second. Thank you.
Not more jail and not more incarceration. And when we talk about having more people in jail than any other country, we have got to recognize that we have a broken criminal justice system that needs major reform. There is a lot to be discussed. Please go to my website if you're interested in the issue. We have a very long document on it. But there's just one issue that I want to spend a minute on. And frankly, it's an issue that I did not know a whole lot about until a few months ago. And here's the issue. Right now, we have a Federal Controlled Substance Act. That's the law that lists drugs that are harmful to people, or ostensibly so. It turns out that right now, on Schedule 1, at the very top of the list, marijuana is in the same schedule as heroin. Now, there's a debate going on about marijuana, the strengths and the problems, but no sensible person believes that marijuana is the equivalent of heroin, which is a killer drug. And I'm not here to advocate, seriously, anybody smoking marijuana or anything else. But this is what I will say. It turns out that over the last 20, 30 years, millions of people in this country have been arrested for possession of marijuana. And when people get arrested, you know what? You go out and you try to find a job, you got a police record. Harder for you to find a job. Truth is, a lot of lives have been ruined for people being arrested for possessing marijuana. And that is why I believe we have got to take marijuana out of the Controlled Substance Act. And when we talk about the economy, and when we talk about why it is that people are working so hard and so many hours, it largely comes down to the fact that wages in this country are very, very low. That's a fact. Now, you can do the arithmetic as well as I do. Federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. Truth is, and I remember I was in Detroit last year, talking to some young people working in McDonald's in the fast food industry. They couldn't even get, they're earning $7.25 an hour. Some of them are parents. They can't even get 40 hours a week at the place they work. They're working in 2 or 3 separate places, taking buses from one place to the other. The truth of the matter is that $7.25 an hour is a starvation wage. We've got to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. And in my view, that living wage is $15 an hour. It is the need to prevent the loss of millions of jobs because of disastrous trade agreements. You're looking at somebody who was in the House, voted against NAFTA, CAFTA, permanent normal trade relations with China, and is helping to lead the effort against the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And our message to corporate America is a pretty simple one. And that is, if you want us to purchase your products, start manufacturing those products in the United States, not China. We need trade policies that are fair for the American worker, fair for poor people around the world, and not just designed to make the CEOs of multinational corporations even richer than they are today.
Celeste, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. I don't know what happened to Eddie. Let's come back over here. Before we lose everybody, sorry about this, guys. It went well, sort of. Actually, the live view gear worked fine. The problem is that the Wi-Fi at the place, and I'm looking at Janine's text here, is that the Wi-Fi at the place and the cell service at this place are just non-existent. And I'm watching the monitor bar bandwidth from the location, and it goes up to having some bandwidth and then nothing, and it stays that way for a long period of time. It's just, there it is. There's Eddie showing up there.